Hi guys, it's Wednesday and I'm here with another installment of More Than a Volunteer. We're on chapter 2 this week and we are looking at what is recruiting. Recruiting is something that is necessary if you have any kind of a ministry within a church. We are called to bring people along with us to help us, and we know that when people help us, it makes our job easier, and recruiting is part of that process. But recruiting can be one of the most frustrating parts of a ministry job just because of what we have to do, recruiting. When I did children's ministry, I was looking sometimes for 88 spots to be filled. That's a lot of volunteers and a lot of recruitment, a lot of time finding people to be a part of it. And one of the things that I came to find is that we need to look at it a little different. We are from a small town, Coopville, and our school played with bigger schools. We played with Kings, our rival off island, and they were a big Christian school, and they brought people in who were great at what they did. They played football really well, they played volleyball really well, and in Coopville, we just had who we had. Everybody got to play. And so when we played them, we were like, they're recruiting, and they're like, no, we're gathering people to be a part of our community. And I thought, what if we started changing the term recruiting in ministry to we're gathering people to be a part of a team? When we recruit, it sounds like we're wanting them to be a part of a job or a task. When we gather, we're inviting them to be a part of something bigger. And so that is what I want you to think about today as we think about recruiting. Last week we talked about volunteers and what they're looking for. Now let's look at recruiting and how we can change the negativeness of recruiting and how hard it is to gathering. And when we're gathering, we're bringing people alongside, helping people be a part of our vision so that they can help our visions come about. And that's, as ministers and pastors, what is required when we have volunteers is to help them be all who God wants them to be. Remember, that's what we want to do, is see them be what God's created them. How can we do that? By inviting them to be a part of our ministry. So let's try to look at recruiting differently, not as a horrible job, but as something exciting that we get to gather people together to be all who God wants them to be. So next week, we're going to look at what kind of leader we are, because in order to lead people, we have to see who we are so we can make sure we're gathering around us the right people, the people who can help in our weak areas. So next week we're going to talk about leadership and what kind of leader we are, and there's so many different kinds of leader, and not one is better than the other, but each one has its own dynamic that requires certain volunteers and how we can look at that. So I'm very excited to go into next week, and I hope this is helping. If you have any questions, put a comment down below. And if you want to get a copy of the book, go to familyfoundationsministry.com, and it's right under resources. And if you have any questions, again, put comments below. I was really encouraged to be talking to several people last week. Charity, hi, answered the question, so she got a free book emailed to her. If anybody in the comments writes one this week, where anybody who makes a comment gets a free copy of the book. But I did have lots of conversations, and some of the things I heard were pretty accurate to what I was thinking. And so there are a lot of volunteers out there right now who are feeling displaced because of COVID. And surprisingly, from what I'm hearing from different churches to what I'm hearing from different volunteers from several different churches, this isn't just one church I'm talking about, it's several different churches, is that these volunteers are feeling like, some of them have said, I haven't been contacted since the whole thing started. Another one said, I'm getting weekly emails, they're letting me know what's going on and keeping me in the loop so that when we come back, they're encouraging me. But there was a lot of people saying, you hit it on the head. As I'm coming back from COVID and the restrictions we've had, we're not going back to normal, we're going back to a new normal. And they're trying to figure out and balance how they're going to volunteer and what that looks like. So we want to make sure, be praying, God, how can I reach out to my volunteers? Lord, how can you change my heart to be able to minister to these people who are alone and don't have community maybe during this season, and they're my volunteers and you put them in my path. Lord, how can I care for them? And I would just encourage you, if you haven't reached out to your volunteers during this time, now's the time to do it. Not tomorrow or when the church opens up, but now is the time to contact them, because they are needing to hear from you. They're needing to know that they are valued, and what they did wasn't just valuable because they were in the present and doing something for you, but that they are valuable just because of who they are. So that is my encouragement for you this week. God bless you, and we'll talk to you next week.